All right, let's go ahead and add the table component provided by AntD to our React application. So click on Getting Started. And if you scroll down, you can see that it's very simple. So all you have to do is simply import the AntD CSS and then start using their components. So let's go ahead and add these to our project. So go back to VS Code, and the first thing that I want you to do is to open index.js. So inside of this index.js, before you import the index.css, let's go ahead and say import, and then what we want is AntD, and then dist, and then AntD.css. So if I end that with a semicolon and save this, next let's go ahead and open up app.js, and right here let's go ahead and import, and then what we're going to import from and then AntD is the actual table. So now we have a table component that we can use within our app. So if I scroll down, let's go ahead and remove all of this because this will now be a table. And just let me go back to AntD so you can see their actual API. So if I go back, you can see that we have to define the actual data source as well as columns. So columns consists of title, data index, and key. So let me go back to VS Code and let's define the actual columns. So const and then columns equals to, this will be an array of objects. And let's go ahead and define our very first column, and the title for it will be student ID, and then the data index will also be student ID. So basically this will be the same. So student ID, and the actual key will be the same. So student and then ID. So make sure that the data index as well as the key map the JSON properties that comes back from our server. So if I open up our React application, so right here you can see that we have student ID, first name, so right here, so student and then ID. So this is camel case, last name camel case, first name camel case, and gender email, they are fine. So make sure that they're exact same. So make sure that they are the exact same name. So make sure that they are the same. If I go back to VS Code, next let's go ahead and copy this and then add the first name, and then this will be first and then name. Grab that, copy there, and then if I grab this and then comma, paste that in, this will be last name. Next, let's go ahead and define the actual email. So this will be email, and then email, email, and finally let's go ahead and define the gender, just like that, and that with a semicolon. So this is the end of the array. Now let's go ahead and simply say return, and then we want to return the table, and the table will take a data source equals to students. So that's the actual data that we get from our server, and then the columns equals to, and then guess what, columns, right? So columns. And finally let's go ahead and refine row key, and the row key will be the student and then ID. So this will be a self-closing tag, and end that with a semicolon there, and let me add these onto a new line, just like that, and parentheses there, indent that, and there we go. So now if I save this and go back to Chrome, just give it a second, you can see that we have our AntD table. So this is awesome. So there is a bug, and basically we can't really see the actual student ID, and that's because I've got a typo, and most likely the actual key is not the same. So there we go. So we have a typo here. So this should be student. So student, and this is just the actual label, so we can have space. But right here, so remember I said that this has to be the same as the property key coming from our server. So student ID. If I save that and then go back to our app, and there we go, you can see that we have the ID right here: first name, last name, email, and gender. This is awesome. You successfully managed to integrate &d as well as using their table component within our React application. Well done.